The battlefield was quiet, too quiet for the alien warrior. Her golden skin shimmered under the dim light of the distant stars. She stood tall and strong, her sharp features set in a grim expression. Her mission had brought her to this forgotten planet where humans had made their stand against the overwhelming forces of her kind. She had killed many in the past, and no one had ever survived the venomous bite of her fangs. But today was different. Today, she had found him. The human soldier was lying on the ground, clutching his chest, gasping for breath. His body was shaking, but he wasn't dead. He had been bitten by her. The venom should have paralyzed him by now. He should have fallen to the ground in agony, convulsing as his life drained away. But he didn't. He just lay there, his breathing labored but steady. His skin wasn't turning purple, and his eyes were still alert, filled with determination. The alien approached. Cautiously, her sharp eyes fixed on the human. He was different. No one had ever survived her bite, let alone remained conscious. "How are you still alive?" she growled, her voice low, dangerous. "My venom has killed thousands. Are you still conscious?" The soldier's eyes flickered as he slowly pushed himself up, ignoring the pain that pulsed through his body. He looked at her, the alien who had unleashed her deadly bite into his flesh, and for a moment he smiled. "I guess I'm not like the others," he said quietly, his voice rough from the venom coursing through his veins. "Humans don't die so easily." The alien warrior's confusion grew. She took a step back, her hand resting on the hilt of her blade. Ready to strike if needed? Her mind raced as she tried to make sense of the situation. She had killed hundreds of soldiers from different worlds, each stronger and more capable than the last. Yet here was this human, a species she had considered weak, enduring what no one else could. She tilted her head, studying him more closely. He was small compared to her, and his body seemed fragile in comparison to the armored warriors of her race. Yet his eyes, those eyes told a different story. They were filled with resolve, as though death had no power over him. "You are not like the others," she muttered to herself. But the doubt in her voice was barely audible. The human's face twisted in pain as he moved to sit up, his arms shaking. It wasn't just the venom that hurt him, it was the sheer willpower it took to fight the poison coursing through his blood. But his mind stayed sharp, his focus on the alien before him. "You think your venom is powerful," he said, his voice weaker now but still defiant. "But it's not enough to stop me. It's never enough to stop humans." The alien warrior took a step closer, her sharp claws flexing in the air. She could feel the energy building within her, the battle instincts coursing through her. She had killed thousands, and no one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever defied her in this way. Her pride burned as she regarded the human, her thoughts a mix of confusion and anger. "You are stubborn, human," she spat, her eyes narrowing. "You think your will is enough to defeat me? You are nothing. You will fall, just like the others." But the human just shook his head, his eyes unwavering. "You don't understand," he said, his voice steady despite the pain. "We don't give up. No matter what happens, we keep fighting, and that's why we'll never lose." The alien scoffed, stepping back. She had seen creatures before, animals even, who had refused to give up in the face of certain death. But those creatures were weak. They weren't built for survival like her kind. They weren't built to endure. She had underestimated this human, but she wouldn't make that mistake again. She raised her hand, her claws gleaming in the low light. "Enough of your words," she growled. "You are a fool to believe you can survive. My bite." And with that, she lunged forward, her sharp claws aiming for the human's throat. But at the last moment, something changed. The human, despite his weakened state, moved faster than she expected. He rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding her strike. The alien warrior let out a frustrated growl as she spun around to face him again, her gaze fixed on his bloodied face. "You're persistent," she muttered, clearly annoyed. "But persistence won't save you." The human soldier was panting now, his chest heaving as the venom continued to fight against his body. Yet even in this moment, he refused to back down. His hand gripped his weapon, a simple rifle, but it was all he needed, raised it. aiming at the alien with the last bit of strength he had. "You think you can scare me?" the human said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not afraid of you. I've faced worse." The alien's eyes widened at the human's words, and for the briefest moment, she wondered if perhaps she had misjudged him. But before she could think further, a sharp pain shot through her own body. She stumbled, her vision blurring for a second. The venom she had injected into him was affecting her too. Something was wrong. The alien staggered, her knees buckling slightly as she looked down at her own claws. What was happening to her? The poison had never affected her before, not like this. Her grip on the ground tightened as her breathing became labored. The human smiled faintly, his head swimming, but he managed to hold steady. "You see, we humans, we don't just survive. We make sure you remember who we are." As the alien warrior collapsed to the ground, still alive but clearly weakened, she finally understood what the human had meant. The battle wasn't over yet, and for the first time she realized that the fight wasn't just about survival, it was about something far more powerful. The alien warrior staggered on shaky legs, her body weakened by the venom she had so proudly unleashed. She had never felt anything like this before. The poison she had injected into the human soldier should have ended him within moments, yet he remained alive, his willpower keeping him standing against her venomous bite. She clenched her fists, her pride burning in her chest. The human, though weary and pale from the venom, stood tall. His breathing was steady now, but his eyes told a different story, one of determination. The alien couldn't help but be intrigued. This human, unlike any she had encountered, had endured pain that would have shattered most beings. "You should be dead by now," she said, her voice low and full of disbelief. "No one survives my bite." The human simply smiled, a faint, painful grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Humans don't give up," he replied, his voice rough but unwavering. "You may have killed thousands, but we're different. We survive, ... and we fight." She took a deep breath, trying to ignore the slight dizziness that threatened to overwhelm her. The venom coursing through her veins was unexpected, and it made her feel vulnerable. For the first time in years, she wasn't in control. She had bitten the human with the certainty of a predator, but now she realized she was not invincible. She took a step forward, her sharp eyes never leaving the human's. She was determined to finish what she had started. "Then let's see if your will is enough to survive this," she growled, her voice cold with challenge. Without warning, she lunged at him again, her claws aimed at his throat. But the human was faster this time. He rolled to the side narrowly. Avoiding her deadly strike, the alien warrior hissed in frustration as she pivoted, preparing for another attack. She couldn't understand it. He had been bitten by her venom, yet he was still moving with such speed. The human soldier, on his feet and holding his weapon tightly, raised his rifle in defense. "You're fast," he said, his voice steady, but not fast enough. She sneered, her sharp teeth glistening in the dim light. "I will show you the true meaning of speed, human," she snarled. "You are nothing more than prey." She charged again, but this time the human anticipated her move. With a quick, practiced motion, he swung the butt of his rifle toward her, catching her across the side of the head. The blow stunned her, and for a brief moment she lost her balance. It was enough time for the human to put some distance between them. The alien shook her head, clearing the dizziness that lingered from the impact. Her eyes locked onto the human, and for the first time she felt something other than rage. She felt respect. "You're a stubborn one," she admitted, taking a step back and considering her next move. "But you won't win this fight. Not against me." The human, breathing heavily, adjusted his grip on his rifle. He wasn't sure how much longer he could hold out against her, but he wasn't about to give up. "Maybe I don't need to win," he said, his voice filled with determination. "Maybe you just need to understand that we don't quit. No matter how many times we fall, we rise again." The alien stared at him, her mind racing. She had faced many warriors in her lifetime, each one powerful in their own right. But none of them had ever spoken like this human. None had ever shown the strength to withstand what he had endured. She thought she understood survival, but this human was teaching her that survival wasn't just about physical strength. It was about the will to keep going, no matter the odds. Her eyes narrowed as she considered him. The human was right about one thing. He wasn't like the others. He wasn't weak. But that didn't change the fact that she had her pride, and that pride wouldn't let her back down. The alien warrior stepped forward, her movements deliberate and controlled. "I'll make you regret that attitude, human," she said, her voice cold and dangerous. "I will show you what true power looks like." But the human didn't flinch. He raised his rifle again, ready for whatever came next. "Bring it," he said. "I'm not afraid." The alien's patience had worn thin. She knew she couldn't keep fighting him like this. She needed to end it. She needed to prove that no matter how resilient humans were, they were still no match for her. Dot with a roar, she charged once more, but this time she moved faster, her claws aiming directly at the human's chest. The human barely had time to react. But he did the one thing he hadn't tried yet. He dove to the side, rolling and getting behind cover. The alien's claws scraped against the ground where he had been just a moment before. He was learning. And the alien didn't like it. But there was something in the way the human moved now, something in the way he was fighting back that made her pause. It wasn't just the fact that he was surviving. It was the way he adapted, the way he fought. With an unbreakable spirit, she growled, frustrated with herself. This human wasn't a normal opponent. She had bitten him, expected him to fall like every other creature before him, and yet he kept going. And now, the more she watched him, the more she understood. This fight was no longer about her strength or speed. It was about something far more powerful. For the first time, she wasn't sure if she could win. "You're impressive human," she said, her voice lower now. "But you still can't defeat me." The human soldier, despite his weariness, held his ground. He knew he was running out of time and energy, but there was one thing he knew for certain. He wasn't going down without a fight. "You haven't learned yet," he said, smiling despite the pain. "Not trying to defeat you, I'm just trying to survive. That's what humans do best." The alien warrior was silent as she regarded him. She had underestimated him, and she realized that now. There was something about humans, something that made them different from every other species she had encountered. Something that made them dangerous. And for the first time, the alien warrior wasn't sure what would happen next. The battle had slowed, but neither of them were willing to back down. The alien warrior stood at a distance, her golden skin glinting under the dim light of the stars. Her sharp, predatory gaze never left the human soldier, who, despite the venom still coursing through his veins, had managed to remain standing. He was wounded, his body exhausted, but his spirit was unbroken. The alien warrior, too, felt the effects of the poison. It was strange and unfamiliar, but it had forced her to pause. Her sharp mind tried to make sense of the situation, but her pride fought against the strange respect she felt for this human. He shouldn't be alive, shouldn't be standing, but he was. And that made her question everything she thought she knew about survival. The human soldier, still holding his rifle with a firm grip, took a deep breath. His chest rose and fell heavily, but he didn't speak right away. Instead, he stared at the alien, his thoughts running as fast as his heart. He had never expected to be standing here, facing a creature like her, but he wasn't afraid. In fact, he was beginning to understand that fear wasn't going to help him now. What he needed was something else. The alien watched him closely, her sharp eyes narrowing as if trying to read his thoughts. She was used to enemies who trembled at her presence, who fell before her might. Yet this one was different. Finally, human spoke, breaking the silence that had stretched between them. "You've killed so many, haven't you?" he asked, his voice quieter now, almost as if he were speaking to himself. The alien's eyes flickered with a mixture of curiosity and annoyance. "What's your point, human?" "My point," the soldier continued, his voice steady, "is that all those lives, all that death, it didn't mean anything. Not to you. Not to anyone." He paused, taking another deep breath as the venom in his body made his head spin. "But I think you're starting to understand. You're not as invincible as you thought." The alien flinched, a flash of something like uncertainty crossing her face, before she regained her cold composure. I have never failed in battle, she replied, her voice thick with pride. I have never been defeated. You human are nothing but a small, fragile creature. You may stand here now, but you will fall. The human soldier smiled faintly, his eyes never leaving hers. We'll see. But instead of continuing their fight, something shifted between them. The alien warrior's instincts told her to attack again, to finish what she had started. But her mind, ever so sharp and calculating, hesitated. There was something more to this human than she had initially thought. She couldn't quite place it, but something about him told her that this was more than just a battle of strength. Why? Do you fight? She asked, her tone softer now, as though she were speaking to herself. You've been bitten, poisoned, should be dead by now? The soldier, despite his fatigue, looked at her with a clear, steady gaze. Because I'm human, he said simply, and we fight because we never give up. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. The alien warrior took a step back, her mind whirling as she tried to understand what the soldier was saying. The human's resilience was something she couldn't ignore. She had fought countless battles, but never had she encountered a foe who fought with such determination, such will to survive. You humans, ... She began, her voice filled with a mix of wonder and confusion. How do you do it? Do you survive? You should have fallen. The soldier, still breathing heavily, glanced around the battlefield. It was quiet now, the sounds of the fight gone. The stars above seemed to shimmer, casting a pale light on the two of them. Despite the poison in his veins and the pain in his body, he felt something in the air, something that wasn't just about the fight. It was something bigger. We've been through a lot, he said, his voice thoughtful now. We've fought wars. We've faced things that could have destroyed us. But we keep going. We adapt. We learn. We're not perfect, but that's what makes us strong. We don't just fight to survive. We fight for something greater. The alien warrior stared at him in silence, her mind racing. She had heard of humans. Before, of course, but hearing it from one of them was different. Their reputation as survivalists, as fighters who never gave up, had always been just stories. Help but believe it. There was something in the way he spoke, in the way he held himself, despite the pain, that made her think they weren't just a species of survivors, they were a species of warriors. What are you fighting for? She asked, her voice quieter. Now, her curiosity getting the better of her. The soldier didn't hesitate. For freedom. For the people who depend on us. For the future of humanity. We fight for each other because that's what we do. The alien warrior remained still, her gaze never leaving him. She had faced death countless times. But something in the soldier's words made her reconsider the idea of what it truly meant. To survive. Survival wasn't just about defeating your enemies or being the strongest. It was about fighting for something greater than yourself. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was something she had never fully understood. For the first time, the alien warrior found herself wondering if there was more to this human than she had realized. She had always believed in the strength of her people, the power of her venom, the sharpness of her claws. But here was a human soldier, weak in her eyes, yet standing strong in the face of certain death. And somehow, that made her question everything she had ever known. You're different, she said finally, her voice quiet. Almost to herself. The human soldier looked at her, his expression unreadable. Maybe, but we're not so different. You and I, we both fight to survive. The only difference is how we do it. The alien warrior considered his words, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of something inside her. Feeling that wasn't anger, wasn't pride, but something else. Respect, maybe? Or understanding? But she couldn't say it aloud. Instead, she nodded slowly. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's more to you humans than I thought. With that, the tension between them eased, if only for a moment. Battle was far from over. The venom in their bodies still burned, and neither of them had the luxury of rest. Yet, in that brief exchange, something had shifted. The alien warrior knew that the fight ahead would not be just about strength. It would be about something far more powerful. The battle between the alien warrior and the human soldier had slowed to a tense, uneasy standstill. Both were exhausted, both had been wounded, but neither had yielded. Human, though poisoned, stood firm. The alien warrior, though weakened by her own venom, still retained a fierce pride. She had never met an opponent like this human one who refused to break, no matter how much pain he endured. But then, the ground beneath them began to shake. A low rumble vibrated through the ground, and the stars above flickered briefly as, if reacting to the disturbance, the alien's sharp ears perked up as the rumble grew louder, more intense. She turned her gaze toward the horizon, her instincts kicking in. This was no ordinary tremor. Something else was coming. The human soldier, too, sensed the change. He looked around, his tired eyes scanning the battlefield. His rifle was still in his hands, but the weight of it felt heavier now. Whatever was approaching, it wasn't a friend. "Get ready," he warned, his voice hoarse from the poison in his system. The alien warrior didn't need to be told twice. She gripped her weapon tighter, her sharp claws flexing, ready for whatever might appear. She had faced many threats in her life. She had never faced an enemy like this, and then they saw it. From the shadows of the distant mountains, a large, heavily armored creature emerged. It was massive, towering over them, its black skin covered. In thick scales, the creature's eyes glowed a fiery red, and its growl shook the air. It was a predator, one that hunted with a terrifying precision. The alien warrior's eyes narrowed. She had heard of these creatures before. They were known as the dread beasts, vicious monsters that had wiped out entire colonies of alien species. In the past, they were unstoppable, nearly indestructible, and they thrived on chaos and destruction. The warrior had never faced one in person, but she knew the stories. She knew how dangerous they were. The human soldier raised his rifle, but his hands were shaky, his body was weak, the poison still ravaging his system. He had no idea how he would manage to fight the dread beast. But one thing was certain, he couldn't face it alone. Without thinking, he turned to the alien. "We need to work together," he said, his voice raw. "This thing's too strong for either of us alone." The alien warrior hesitated. She was proud, and working with a human, her enemy felt wrong. But something in the soldier's eyes, a mix of determination and desperation, told her that there was no choice. If they didn't work together, they would both die. "Fine," she growled, her voice filled with annoyance, but there was no mistaking the edge of agreement. "But this doesn't mean I trust you." The human gave a faint smile, even though he was barely able to keep his grip on his weapon. "I wasn't asking for your trust," he said. "I'm just asking for your help." Together, they began to move, staying low and keeping their distance from the dread beast as it slowly approached. Its growls echoed through the air, each step it took shaking the ground beneath them. The alien warrior crouched, her body tense, waiting for the right moment to strike. The human soldier, still recovering from the venom, kept his rifle trained on the creature, but he knew his chances of hitting it were slim. He wasn't at full strength, and the poison made his aim unsteady. The dread beast let out a deafening roar as it charged forward, its claws outstretched. The alien warrior leaped into action, her powerful legs carrying her swiftly toward the creature. She met the dread beast head-on, slashing at its thick hide with her claws. The creature let out a guttural growl, but the alien's attack did little more than scratch its armor-like skin. The human soldier fired his rifle, aiming for the creature's eyes, but the shots only seemed to anger it further. The dread beast turned its attention to him, its fiery eyes locking on to his position. It roared, charging toward him with incredible speed. "Get down!" the alien warrior shouted. Without thinking, the soldier dove to the ground, narrowly avoiding the dread beast's massive claws. He scrambled to his feet, his breath quick and shallow from the poison, but he kept moving. His mind was racing, trying to come up with a plan. He had to think fast. The alien warrior, meanwhile, was darting in and out of the creature's reach, her claws slashing at its legs and sides. The dread beast was too powerful, though. Its thick scales made it nearly invulnerable to her attacks. She knew she had to find a weak spot, but there didn't seem to be one. "We need a better plan," the soldier said, his voice urgent. I can't keep this up. The alien warrior looked at him, her eyes narrowing. She had never worked with anyone before, never relied on another's help. But in this moment, she understood that they were both in the same position, outmatched, and struggling to survive. She needed him as much as he needed her. I have an idea, the soldier said, a plan forming in his mind. But we need to move fast. Together, they devised a strategy. The alien warrior would distract the dread beast while the soldier moved into position. He would use his rifle to target the creature's weak spots, aiming for the eyes and underbelly, where its armor wasn't as thick. With the plan set, the alien warrior lunged forward again, drawing the dread beast's attention. She slashed at its face, her claws making deep gouges in the creature's flesh, though it still didn't seem to slow down. The creature howled in anger and frustration, swiping at her with its massive claws. Meanwhile, the human soldier crept around the side, staying out of sight of the dread beast. His heart was pounding in his chest as he prepared to make his move. This was it, his one chance to turn the tide. He aimed his rifle carefully, taking a deep breath to steady his shaking hands. The alien warrior was still keeping the creature distracted, moving with quick, agile steps. The soldier pulled the trigger. The shot rang out, and for a moment, everything seemed to slow down. The dread beast roared, its massive head jerking back as the bullet found its mark. The creature staggered, its eyes momentarily blinded by the attack. But it wasn't enough to stop it. It continued to charge. We're not done yet. The human soldier shouted, ready for the next attack. The alien warrior, now realizing that they had a chance, leaped forward again, her claws aiming for the dread beast's throat. The human soldier's heart raced, knowing this was their moment. Together, they fought not just for survival, but for something deeper. Their shared struggle had forged an unexpected bond. And in that moment, the alien warrior realized something she had never considered before. It was not the power to destroy that made someone strong, it was the power to fight, even when it seemed impossible. The battle against the dread beast raged on. The creature was massive, its terrifying roars shaking the ground beneath them. The alien warrior and the human soldier had barely managed to keep it at bay, but with every passing second, it became clearer that their combined efforts were the only thing keeping them alive. The dread beast's thick, scaly skin seemed nearly impervious to their attacks. Every strike from the alien warrior only left minor scratches, and the human shots barely slowed it down. The creature was relentless, its claws slashing through the air as it advanced on them. It was only a matter of time before one of them made a mistake. The alien warrior darted to the side, narrowly avoiding the dread beast's deadly swipe. She could feel the poison in her veins, the weakness it brought, but her pride refused to let her falter. She couldn't allow herself to be defeated, not by this creature, not by a human. The soldier, meanwhile, was doing his best to stay on his feet despite the venom still coursing through his body. His movements were sluggish, his aim unsteady, but he was determined not to let the alien warrior down. If they were going to survive, they had to work together. "Keep it distracted," the soldier shouted, his voice strained. "I'll try to get a clear shot." The alien warrior didn't need to be told twice. She lunged forward again, slashing at the dread beast's face, her claws leaving deep gouges in its thick hide. The creature howled in anger, swiping at her with its massive claws, but she was fast, darting out of its reach with practiced ease. The human soldier, still crouched behind a large rock for cover, gripped his rifle tightly. He could hear the dread beast's heavy footsteps feel the ground tremble as it charged toward them. It was getting closer. Couldn't let it get any closer. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. His vision blurred from the poison, but he focused on the creature's movements. He had one chance. He had to make this shot count. The alien warrior was now directly in front of the dread beast, keeping its attention fixed on her. She was moving. With incredible speed, her body a blur as she ducked and dodged, using her agility to stay out of the creature's reach. She was strong, fast, and fierce, but even she couldn't keep this up forever. The soldier knew this was it. He aimed his rifle at the dread beast's underbelly, where its armor was weaker. He held his breath, his finger tightening on the trigger. Ah! The dread beast's fiery eyes locked onto the alien warrior as it lunged forward for another attack, its claws aimed at her throat. Without hesitation, the soldier fired. The shot rang out, echoing across the battlefield. It struck the dread beast in its vulnerable underbelly, and the creature let out a deafening roar as it stumbled backward, its body jerking from the impact. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The alien warrior took advantage of the creature's momentary weakness. She surged forward, her claws aimed at its throat. With a roar of her own, she tore into the dread beast's neck, her claws sinking deep into its flesh. The creature howled, its massive body shuddering as it struggled against the warrior's grip. The human soldier watched as the dread beast slowly collapsed to the ground, defeated. The alien warrior stepped back, breathing heavily, her body shaking with exhaustion. She had done it. She had struck the final blow. But it wasn't just her strength that had won the fight. It was their teamwork. The human soldier lowered his rifle, his hands still trembling from the effort. He could feel the poison working its way through his body. But for the first time since the battle began, he allowed himself to relax. He had survived. They had both survived. The alien warrior turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and something else. Respect. She didn't say anything at first. There was no need. The look in her eyes said everything. "I didn't think we'd make it," the human soldier said, his voice hoarse. "But we did." The alien warrior nodded, her chest rising and falling with every breath. "I told you, human," she said, her voice low but steady. "You are not like the others. You are ... stronger." The soldier smiled, though it was a weak smile. "I guess I'm not the only one," he said. "You're not so bad yourself." There was a long pause as the two of them stood there, the dread beasts. Lifeless bodies sprawled out before them. The battlefield was quiet now, the only sounds being their labored breaths. The alien warrior's gaze softened as she looked at the human, though it was only for a moment. "I owe you my life," she said quietly. "I never expected a human to be the one to save me." The soldier shook his head. "You saved me too. We did this together." The alien warrior grunted in acknowledgement but said nothing more. There was still pride in her voice, still the warrior's edge that refused to show weakness. But the human could see it. He could see the change in her. The wall of pride that had kept her distant was starting to crack. Maybe, just maybe, she was beginning to understand. The soldier glanced at the sky, the stars still shining above them, unchanging, eternal. "You know," he said, his voice thoughtful, "this wasn't what I expected when I signed up for this mission." The alien warrior raised an eyebrow, clearly confused. "What do you mean?" He chuckled softly, despite the pain. "I thought I was just going to fight for survival. But now I think it's something more. This fight, this moment, it's about proving that no matter what happens, we never back down." The alien warrior stared at him, her eyes narrowing as she considered his words. She had heard of human resilience before, but it was only now, after everything they had been through, that she truly understood what it meant. "Perhaps," she said, her voice quieter now. "You were right, human." The two of them stood in silence. For a moment, the weight of their battle still heavy on their shoulders. But there was something new between them now, an understanding. An alliance forged not just in blood, but in the shared struggle for survival. The alien warrior glanced at the human again. This time was something like respect in her eyes. "I think I may need to learn more about your kind." The soldier smiled, his voice tired but sincere. "I think we both have a lot to learn." The battlefield was quiet now, the deafening roars of the dread beast gone. Only the sound of their labored breathing filled the air. The alien warrior and the human soldier stood side by side, their bodies battered and bruised, their movements slow but steady. The poison still coursed through their veins, but they had made it. They had survived. The alien warrior wiped the blood from her claws, her golden skin glistening under the pale light of the stars. She could feel the weakness in her body, the lingering effects of the venom that had been injected into her. But, even with the poison, she was alive. So was the human. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was heavy, filled with an unspoken understanding. They had fought together, and though they were still enemies, something had shifted. The alien warrior didn't know what it was exactly, but she felt it. She felt it in the way she now looked at the human soldier, not just as an enemy, but as an equal. The human soldier, despite his own pain, glanced over at the alien warrior. His chest was still heaving from the battle, but there was a faint smile on his lips. "I guess we make a pretty good team," he said, his voice hoarse but filled with a certain pride. The alien warrior grunted, her gaze hard but thoughtful. "I never thought I would hear those words from a human." She paused, turning her sharp eyes to the horizon. "You should have died, you know. My venom has killed thousands. You are not like the others." The soldier nodded, his expression serious. "We're not like others. Humans don't quit. We don't give up, no matter how bad it gets." The alien warrior narrowed her eyes, considering his words. She had heard stories of humanity's resilience, but she had always dismissed them as mere tales. Now, standing beside this human, she understood it wasn't just about surviving. It was about fighting, even when the odds were stacked against you. It was about the spirit to keep going when everyone else would have fallen. "You have something inside you," she said, her voice low, almost reluctant. "I've seen many creatures fall before me, but you are different. How do you do it?" The human soldier smiled again, though it was weary. "We just keep fighting, no matter what comes at us. Push through it. It's in our blood, I guess." For the first time, the alien warrior felt something unfamiliar: respect. She had spent her life hunting, fighting, and winning, but this human had shown her that there was more to strength than just power. There was heart, willpower, and determination. And in that moment, she realized something important. It wasn't just about her strength or her venom. It was about the fight itself, the unwillingness to back down. The soldier had taught her that. "You humans are strange," she muttered, her voice filled with a mix of admiration and confusion. "You don't give up, even when it seems hopeless." Duh. Soldier laughed softly, though it was pained. "Yeah, that's kind of our thing. We find a way, even if it doesn't look like we can. We've been through a lot, but we're still here." The alien warrior turned to face him fully, her eyes studying him. "You fought wars, survived disasters, and yet you're still here. It's not just about strength, is it?" The human shook his head. "It's about more than that. It's about finding something worth fighting for. For me, it's my people. It's the future we're building. We fight for what's right, no matter what it takes." The alien warrior didn't speak at first, her mind racing. She had always fought for herself, for her pride and her people. But now, standing here with this human, she began to understand something she had never considered. There was more to life than just victory. There was a purpose, a reason to keep fighting beyond the battle itself. Humans fight for something bigger than themselves, she said softly, her voice almost reverent. "I never understood that. But now I think I see it." The human soldier gave her a tired smile. "Yeah, you're starting to get it. It's not about winning every fight. It's about fighting for something that matters. For the people we love, for the future we want. That's what keeps us going." The alien warrior nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. She had spent her life believing that strength was everything. But now, as she stood next to this human, she realized that there was more to strength than power. There was purpose, there was heart, and there was something deeper than victory. "We are alike in ways I never thought possible," she said, her voice almost soft. "And yet we are so different." The human soldier nodded. "We're not so different, really. We both fight for survival. We both fight for what we believe in. Doesn't matter where we come from. We all have our reasons." The alien warrior turned her gaze back to the horizon. She was silent for a moment, contemplating his words. She had never truly understood humans before. She had seen them as weak, fragile creatures, easy to crush beneath her might. But now, standing beside this soldier, she realized how wrong she had been. They weren't weak at all. They were strong in ways she had never considered. And maybe, just maybe, they had something to teach her after all, you know? human soldier said, breaking the silence. There's more out there. More enemies, more battles. But I don't think we're alone in this anymore. We've got each other's backs. The alien warrior glanced at him, her sharp eyes reflecting a quiet understanding. Yes, she said slowly. Perhaps we do. Together they stood there, side by side, facing the unknown. The poison in their bodies still lingered, but their resolve had never been stronger. They had fought together, and now they had an unspoken alliance. Their paths had crossed in the most unlikely way, but now there was a mutual respect between. The man understanding that strength wasn't just about power, it was about heart, about fighting for something greater than oneself. And in that moment, the alien warrior realized that this human, this soldier, had shown her what true strength really meant.